But I'm Jacqueline McAllister, Communications Manager with New York ASBO, and I'll be helping out today. And if you have a question at any point, you can raise your hand. There's a little icon for you to raise your hand for a question, and we'll unmute you so you can ask the question if you'd like. And then you can also type them into the questions box, and we can respond via chat or ask the question verbally, and we'll respond that way too. So questions are welcome. And at this point, I will turn it over to Deborah Cunningham, our Director of Education and Research.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about enrollment. This is probably one of those data points that is critical in education. It's used in more than a dozen aid formulas, and so very important to the resources that flow to school districts. And it's important in the proposals that come forth from the regents and the executive in determining the distribution of state aid. And our presenters today are uniquely positioned to be able to deliver this webinar, and they exemplify a unique kind of sharing among offices in state aid. Bruce Jesiolowski is from the Office of State Aid. He's been with the department since 1989. He was formerly a senior accountant and associate accountant with the Program Services Reimbursement Unit. He's been with the State Aid Office since 2002, and his duties include supervising the attendance, transportation program areas, and coordinating the calculation of New York City building aid. And then in 2012, he began supervising the State Aid Data Unit. Ellen Martin is an Assistant Data Director for the department in the Office of Information and Reporting Services and has served in that position since 2012. She is responsible for implementing and monitoring policies and procedures that govern the collection of student and school district data for the state's reporting systems. So welcome, Bruce and Ellen, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Deborah. Good morning, everyone. Today's webinar is enrollment for state aid purposes. The first slide has our names, of course, and our websites and our phone contact numbers. Please feel free after the webinar, if you have any questions regarding enrollment or attendance, to contact either Ellen or me, and we'll certainly attempt or try to answer all your questions. The presentation today will be me and Ellen, and it's a PowerPoint presentation. As Jacqueline noted, we will take questions during the presentation. If need be, Jacqueline's going to cut in, and I can ask a question during the presentation, or we can cover those at the end. I think whatever is the most manageable, we'll let that up to Jacqueline. Presentation overview, 6 parts. Part 1, we'll talk about enrollment for state aid purposes. Part 2, timeline that I use for data, enrollment data. I'd also like to go over the SAM's reporting schedules where the enrollment is reported to us, the state aid, the estimated enrollments that we use for our databases. And then Ellen Martin will cover parts 4, 5, and 6 and go over SERS reporting, BEDS online reporting, reviewing some of the reports that are available to districts, within SERS and also the IRS Portal, and also how to revise enrollment counts, not only your own enrollment counts, but also charter school and non-public school. Although you don't directly change those, Ellen would like to walk through how to best affect those changes. Part 1, enrollment for state aid purposes. Many state aid calculations incorporate one or more of the BEDS Day enrollment items. And as you know, BEDS Day is the first Wednesday in October. The state aid formulas and the enrollment counts necessary for state aid calculations are all defined in education law. The primary enrollment that we use for most state aid calculations is what we call public school enrollment. and you can find that the statutory citation is 36021N2. And basically, the public school enrollment includes students on a regular enrollment register, what I kind of always call grade-by-grade enrollment in the district. It also includes home instruction or hospital instruction, and those would both be provided by the school district. Students in equivalent attendance programs, and also resident students with disabilities placed full-time in a BOCES. So that's the primary enrollment count that we use. There are some other enrollment counts that are necessary for state aid. There's public school enrollment, including charter, resident public enrollment. There's also resident public and non-public enrollment, and public and non-public enrollment attending within district. The last two are used primarily in your instructional material aids. And I just want to kind of throw in something that I don't have in the presentation, but it's important. I did post out on our website that we do have our textbook software library freeze coming up in April. So if you have any expenses associated with those aids, please submit ST3 changes. Sorry for going off track. And for any of the detail regarding how enrollments are used in the aid calculations, please refer to our state aid handbook. Every year we go through and we update our handbook, and we have a new issuance of it, and that's our website to the latest available handbook. As Deborah said, there's a lot of formulas that use enrollment, and I think I listed 12 or 13 here. And I'm not going to go through every one and read them, but I do want to note that I asterisked 3 aids. And the asterisk note reads, full day kindergarten conversion aid, universal pre-kindergarten aid grants, and urban suburban transfer aid use current year beds enrollment in the year the aid is paid. So what that means is for this current school year, your 2014 beds enrollment is used to pay the 14-15 current year aid for only those 3 aid formulas. The other aid formulas above typically use enrollment counts from earlier year, from the prior year or earlier years. Also, I'd like to note that the current year enrollment counts are used by state aid for estimating state aid for state budget purposes. So on your Form A, when you report all your estimated enrollment, that's really critical that those be updated as necessary from November through January, and some of them throughout the year. This is a timeline that I use and I live by to make sure that not only the current year aids, but also the estimated aids for our quarterly databases are as accurate as possible. And the first time period I'd like to talk about is July through October. In July, every year, we issue the New Year SAMS release. And the SAMS Form A base year center column is pre-filled with actual beds day enrollment as reported to SED in the prior year. So for example, the 2014 SAMS release, the Form A center column base year data was pre-filled with 2013 beds day enrollment. Also, I'd like to point out that the center column enrollment data, the prior year beds data that's pre-filled, is actually frozen in September of the claim year and can no longer be modified after that time. The frozen actual base year enrollment counts are mostly used for current year aids. And I want to stress this, that if you go into SAMS early on in like July and August and you run edit reports, the final beds data may come in late August or early September. So you may want to go in and rerun your edit reports somewhere around mid-September just to make sure the actual frozen real final 2013 Beds Day enrollment is running against your edit reports for your September through October claim data. Also during this time, in your Form A claim data, you're going to report the estimated Beds Day enrollment to state aid, and that's in the far right column. And it's critical that these estimated enrollments be as close to actual as possible, because we use those for the November data file, and that November data file is typically used by the governor to prepare his budget. So even if you submit your Form A in, let's say, September 20th, but your beds enrollment counts, you know your actual changed slightly in the first week of October, please go in and change your Form A estimated data so we have the most accurate data for the November database. The next time period that's important to me and critical is the November through January 15th. Districts should continue to review and adjust their Form A estimated Beds Day enrollment during this time. This is necessary as State Aid Office uses this data to analyze and check the actual Beds Day enrollment when we receive it from the IRS office in January. Also during this period in December, the IRS office begins to publish the new year's State Aid 3-year Beds Day Enrollment Summary Report, and that's published on the IRS Portal, and that includes both SERS and Beds Online data, and it's pretty critical that districts know how to get into that and look at that, because it will be fairly obvious if there's a bad data reporting item on there. You'll see it should jump right out at you, because the report is set up in a 3-year spread and pretty much links up to all the data items that we use for our state aid reporting as well. January, usually around the middle of the month, the IRS office sends the initial Beds Day enrollment file to state aid, and this is then first used in some current year aid calculations and aid estimates. This data is also first used in our February legislative database. The first file does not include non-public enrollment counts. They come a little bit later in the cycle. So the non-public enrollment counts for the February database will still be your Form A estimates at that time. And I also want to note that the just completed February database in a few weeks ago did not use BEDS or SERS Charter School District of Resident counts. We're still using the Form A estimated counts for the Charter School District of Resident. And we do that because we like to make sure that those counts are as accurate as possible, and we're not yet sure we're there yet with the SERS data in January. So we like to give the charter schools and the school districts a little bit more time to get those worked out and as accurate as possible. In March, Ellen Martin's office, the IRS office, is pulling together all the non-public enrollment data, and they send that to state aid at that time. These counts will be first used in the May 15th data file. And about the same time, in late March or early April, the IRS office is also sending us any updates to the Beds Day enrollment from SERS. And these updates will also be included in the May database. And it's really critical that districts continue to review the SERS verification reports and the 3-year summary reports and any other reports available in the IRS portal to make sure that the SERS data it continues to be as accurate as possible. And I ask that you continue to do that right up through August, because in August, as you see, my next timeline event, mid-August after the claim year in early September, we do go in and we freeze that data. And 2014, so in August of 2015, an extract gets pulled, and the 2014 data, both in SERS and Beds Online, gets frozen, and no longer will changes be able to be made to that data. So it's really critical and important that district data coordinators and state aid designees look at the enrollment data before that file gets frozen. And also, districts that operate universal pre-K enrollment or pre-K programs, please make sure that your pre-K enrollment is accurate in August as well. We do a separate mini pool in late August so that I can freeze the universal pre-K total grant payable. The statutory deadline is September 1st every year for that. So usually the last week of August we're freezing that. We're doing a mini pool and then freezing that data as well. I'd like to also go over the SAM's enrollment reporting schedules. Basically, the enrollment is reported to us via the Form A and the Schedule U.
Hi, Bruce.
The Form A, yes.
We have a question from the audience. Do you mind? I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. So we have a question that says, why isn't the actual enrollment submitted through data warehouse used for state aid purposes?
It is. The actual enrollment is used for state aid purposes. The only time well, not the only time, we primarily use the estimates in November, and that's because at that time, the data warehouse, the SERS data warehouse, we aren't yet really ready to extract that data. There hasn't been enough time passed that we feel comfortable we have all the correct and accurate SERS data. So we give districts from November through January to go in, review the verification reports, review the 3-year summary reports to get their enrollment data correct. The districts do have the ability to go in right up through the end of October if they need to and change their estimated Feds Day enrollment. And also, we don't have non-public enrollment available to us until after January, after February, usually in early March. I don't have a non-public enrollment file until early March from the Beds Online. So that's kind of why we use estimates initially, and then we switch over to actuals for the February and subsequent databases. I hope that answered the question.
Okay,
if it didn't, that person can certainly give me a call.
Okay, thank you very much, Bruce. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Getting back to the Form A enrollment schedules, the first, at the top of the Form A, we have lines 1A, 1B, 2, 3, 4 are for districts to report their, what I again call their regular day school enrollment register data, grade by grade enrollment I also call it. Also, any districts that operate a full day kindergarten program, if you're a district that has been operating it for some time, you should see the year of first operation in 1C. If you're a district that's planning to start a full day kindergarten program or are starting it in this first initial claim year, then please fill in items 1D and 1E. And if you do put a year in 1E, it's important that you also fill out 6B of Form A. Further down on the Form A, there's also some other enrollment counts that we collect. These are, again, some of the old data points from the old Beds Online summary. virtually all the enrollment data for districts now is included in SERS. However, there is one item that we are no longer collecting from SERS, but we're asking districts to report it to us, and that would be the entry 83, students in equivalent attendance programs. Please fill in both the base year, which is the center column, and the estimated year for equivalent attendance. Schedule U, charter school enrollment. Center column is popular, or the far left column is populated with prior year actual beds data at this point. The far right column is the projected estimated data, where it's no longer really projected. At this time, it would be your actual during the year. The lines 1 through 6 are the district of resident enrollment, and this is the data items that we've continued to keep from the Form A for the February database. We'll probably switch in May, or at the latest August, over to the actual SERS data. And the bottom half of Schedule U is the district or the attending charter school enrollment counts. For the February database, we did use SERS for these items.
Bruce, we have a couple more questions.
Sure.
What is equivalent attendance programs?
Those are primarily GED programs operated out there. We used to say resident count. We took out the term resident, and there are some districts that operate programs and they have residents from other districts, and it's difficult for districts to really know what students are from other districts. So I think there's a lot of enrollment within these programs, and we switched over to having districts just put their full equivalent attendance enrollment in entry 83.
Okay, I think this is related. There's another question. It just says in-district and out-of-district attendance programs, question mark?
For entry 83, yes. Or did they mean resident and non-resident? If that's true, then yes for 83.
Okay. If we need a follow-up, I'll let you know. Thanks, Bruce.
Okay. That's pretty much my presentation. Again, if you have any questions regarding enrollment reporting for state aid, feel free to email or call me. At this point, I'd like to switch it over to Ellen.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Jacqueline, could you confirm that everyone can see my screen?
Yes, we're all set. And I think we have a follow-up question to Bruce, if you don't mind, before we go into your part. Do we include students in both in-district and out-of-district programs?
For what entry?
Chris, I'm going to unmute you so you can ask the question to...
Question 83.
on
entry 83.
Yeah, we've removed the resident tag on that. So we're at that point. Now we're asking districts to provide all year equivalent attendance.
What I mean is if the district runs a program in district, a GED program in district, we include those, but do we include students who attend a non-district run program?
Is this a BOCES program? Or
yeah, BOCES.
One that...
Yeah, a BOCES.
You would, unless it's a BOCES aidable program. I think on the Form A, somewhere on the Form A, it tells you to let us know if you're getting BOCES aid for those.
Right. So we do not include those students.
I believe on the enrollment you should be reporting everybody, but then up on line 14, you would tell us if it's BOCES aidable or not for attendance purposes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Bruce.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can have Ellen take off from here.
Okay, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Bruce has discussed how enrollment is used in state aid calculations, and I'll discuss how bed stay enrollment is reported, as well as show several reports that you can use to ensure that your district's enrollment is reported accurately. So bed stay is always the first Wednesday in October, and by bed stay, districts are able to report stable enrollment counts. Students are counted in the district and the school where they're enrolled on bed stay. And we use bed stay enrollment because it provides a point in time when student enrollment counts are complete, they're unduplicated, and we can compare enrollment across districts. So we have a timeline for reporting beds enrollment data. The beds data is reported in the Student Information Repository System. It's also known as the Data Warehouse, or SERS. The warehouse opens in mid-September, and at that time districts and charter schools can begin to load their enrollment records for the school year. In October we have bed stay, and at that time districts and charter schools will continue to load and revise their enrollment records in SERS. And non-public schools also report their enrollment, but they do that in a separate application, which is called Beds Online. In December, we have several things occurring. We have the 3-year Enrollment Summary report, and that's posted to the IRS Portal. Districts use that report to review their enrollment data, and then they can move ahead and make any necessary revisions in SERS. The report is refreshed weekly with enrollment data that's submitted to SERS. We also have a report, the Universal Pre-K Enrollment and Maximum Funded Pupil Counts report, that is posted to the IRS portal beginning in December. And districts should use this report to review the accuracy of their UPK counts. Again, the report is refreshed weekly with records submitted to the SERS. And finally, we have the SERS enrollment and free and reduced price lunch verification reports that are available in the L2RPT reporting environment. And these reports should be used by districts to review their enrollment data in SERS. And the L2RPT reports are refreshed weekly with records that are submitted to SERS. So these are 3 tools that districts can use to review the accuracy of their enrollment data. In January, we take the first snapshot of beds enrollment data for state aid. We send the initial bed stay enrollment data file to state aid, and this information is used in the February legislative database. Now, this initial enrollment transmittal does not include the non-public district of attendance and district of residence counts. The February database continues to use the district estimated non-public enrollment counts. In March, we send the initial non-public enrollment file to state aid, and these counts are first used in the May 15th database. The non-public enrollment is taken from the Beds Online application. Also in March, we send the second snapshot of bed stay enrollment from SERS to state aid, and these counts are used in the May 15th database as well. So for the current year, the March snapshot will occur on the 27th of the month, Then moving on, April through August, districts should continue to review their bed stay enrollment counts, and they should make any revisions that are needed before the final enrollment data file is created in August. Again, the 3-year enrollment summary reports as well as the L2 RPT verification reports continue to be refreshed weekly. These reports should be used to help the districts review their enrollment data. In August, the warehouse closes, and at that time, the Office of Information and Reporting will extract the final bed stay enrollment as well as the counts of free and reduced price lunch eligible students from SERS, and the non-public enrollment will come from Beds Online and will be sent to state aid as the final end-of-year file. We anticipate that the warehouse will be closing on August 28th of this year. That's always subject to change. But after that time, once the warehouse is closed, no changes to the 14-15 data may be made. There are 2 ways that beds enrollment is reported to SED. Public and charter schools report individual student record data in the Student Information Repository System, and non-public schools report their enrollment data in aggregate through a legacy system that is Beds Online. To assist districts in reviewing their enrollment counts in SERS, we have the Level 2 reports. Those are called the L2 RPT verification reports, and these reports reflect statewide data in the repository. The L2 RPT reports are designed to help districts verify both their enrollment and their free and reduced price lunch data. So we have a series of 6 L2 RPT verification reports that relate to bed stay enrollment. And we also snapshot enrollment for state aid 3 times during the school year. We snapshot the enrollment in January, again in March, and finally at the end of the year. So each of the 6 L2 RPT reports also has a snapshot version that we call the .1 version. So it's the SERS and the number of the report followed by .1 that indicates a snapshot report. So this is what the L2 RPT reports look like. This is the bed stay enrollment report by location and subgroup. There is a drop down to select the year of data to review. We can go back as far as 11-12 school year data on this report, right on up to current 14-15 enrollment data. There's also an additional drop-down that you can select to view either district-level data or school-level data. And each of the L2 RPT reports has a drill-through capability. So for example, if we look at the cell for grade 1, all students, we can click in that cell to get the detail report. So this is what the drill-through detail report looks like, and it displays data for individual students that make up that grade 1 all students cell. You can see that this is actually a district level report, so we can view all the grade 1 students and the location or the building within the district where they are enrolled. This is a snapshot version of the same enrollment report by location and subgroup, and this will display the data that's actually snapshotted and sent to state aid for the 3 times during the year when we do that, in January, in March, and again at the end of the school year. This is the bed stay enrollment report for state aid. This displays counts of supplemental enrollment data. You can see columns for incarcerated youth, columns to display the counts of resident students for whom the district is paying tuition, Those could be students enrolled full-time in other public school districts, students who are full-time at BOCES, students with disabilities who are attending special act districts or state-supported non-public schools, students with disabilities attending the New York State School for the Blind or School for the Deaf. We have counts of students in home or hospital settings, as well as non-resident students, and finally students who participate in the Interdistrict Urban-Suburban Transfer Program. This is the L2 RPT report that displays enrollment for district pre-K students. This report has a count of total pre-K, and that includes students in UPK programs. They could be either in district classrooms or in programs where the provider is a community-based organization, a CBO. And the report also includes students that are in other pre-K programs. Those would be non-UPK programs. There's something to note on this report. You'll see a line that says pre-K students without the required pre-K program code. That indicates a reporting error where the district did not provide the pre-K program code, which allows us to know whether it's a UPK student or a student that's in an other pre-K program. So that's something that you'd want to pay attention to if you see that on your L2 RPT. The next report is the Bed Stay enrollment by district of residence. And this report displays the district of residence of all the students that are enrolled within your district. This report also has the drill-through capability to view the individual student data as well as the snapshot version. Next is the Bed Stay enrollment. I'm sorry?
We have a question. Someone asked, can you please tell me where to find these reports? I'm in the IRSP now, and they're not there. Thank you.
I'll be glad to cover that at the end of the presentation. I have some slides that tell you where to locate the reports.
Great. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, sure. So we're looking right now at the enrollment in public and charter schools by resident district. And on this report, you'll see counts of resident students who are attending either their own district. It also displays counts of resident students that may be attending other public school districts, as well as district residents that attend charter schools. So on this report, it includes resident students that are enrolled in other public school districts with placement by the home district, as well as resident students who are parentally placed outside their home district. This is the detailed version of the 319 report that we just viewed. In this example, we can see this has district of residence is Schenectady on this report, and we can see those students that are attending another school district. There are students attending the North Colony School District, and the report will display their building in which they're enrolled. This is the report for free and reduced price lunch eligible students enrolled on Bed Stay. This report displays both the number and the percentage of free lunch and reduced price lunch students. It also has the information by student subgroup on this report. This report requires a special SEDDAS entitlement to view the data because of the sensitive nature of the free and reduced price lunch data. We have some notes for reporting free and reduced price lunch data for districts that participate in the community eligibility provision. The guidance in SERS is to report only students who qualify to participate in the federal school lunch program, independent of the community eligibility provision. So even though those districts that participate in CEP, even though 100% of their students receive a free lunch, they should only be reporting in SERS those students that are eligible. So that would be students who are named on direct certification files. These indicate families receiving SNAP or TANF benefits, or those students who are categorically eligible. Those would be homeless, migrant, or foster students. Next, we want to talk about access to the L2 RPT reports, and that's provided through SEDDAS. I think this speaks to the question that we had earlier. SEDDAS is the State Education Department Delegated Account System, and in each district, designated district personnel create and manage SEDDAS accounts for their staff, and they also manage entitlements to the L2 RPT application as well. So more information is available at the SEDDAS homepage, and the link is on your screen. The L2 RPT reports are independently hosted by the Level 1 data centers, and for questions about L2 RPT access, you should contact your Regional Information Center or your Big 5 data center, and the contact information is displayed as well. Another way that reports are distributed is through the IRS Portal. The portal hosts reports to authenticated users. Account management for the portal is handled through SEDDAS, as well as the entitlements to the various IRS Portal applications. The State Aid 3-Year Enrollment Summary report is one of the reports that's distributed on the portal, as well as the Universal Pre-K Enrollment Report. And information on the portal is displayed here as well. So this is what the portal looks like once you're logged on. And you can see some reports are highlighted here. The 3-Year Beds Enrollment Summary report is highlighted, as well as the supplemental reports for charter schools and non-public schools. So this is the State Aid 3-Year Beds Day Enrollment Summary report, and you can see that 3 years of data are displayed for comparison purposes. A note on this report is that line 9, which is resident students enrolled in public schools, line 9 data does not include students parentally placed in other public school districts on this report. This again is the summary report, and you can see that it's a comprehensive summary of all the enrollment and free and reduced price lunch data that we do send to state aid. We have a data mapping section at the end of the summary report, which displays the source of the data across years. It displays whether the data comes from the Student Information Repository System, whether it comes from Beds Online, or in some cases there's a mixture of the two depending on the year of data that you're looking for. So for example, row 9 is the resident students enrolled in other districts. For the 2 most recent years, you can see the data comes from SERS, but the fall 2012 data actually was sourced from Beds Online from the district summary form. This is a continuation of the data mapping portion of the summary report. Again, you can see it's quite comprehensive. At the end of the data mapping section, we can see whether revisions are allowed, whether revisions to the data are allowed or not. And you can see that revisions are allowed for current year data only. The summary report also contains an extensive note section. Those notes have important information. I call your attention to note number 3, which tells us if you notice instances in which a non-public school is not accurately reporting enrollment data, that has fiscal implications for your own district, the guidance is to reach out directly to the data coordinator at the non-public school. If your need is they don't respond to your need, you're welcome to contact the Office of Information and Reporting, and we will try to assist you. Similarly, if you believe a charter school is not accurately reporting enrollments to which you're fiscally tied, you should be reaching out to the data coordinator at the charter school, or you're also welcome to enlist the help of your RIC representative. If neither of those avenues work, you're encouraged to contact IRS, and we'll try to assist you as well. The 3-year enrollment summary report also contains several supplemental reports that show attending and resident enrollment for both charter schools and non-public schools. So in this supplement, we can see the resident and non-resident pupils attending charter schools for this particular district. Next is the report that shows resident students enrolled in charter schools. This is the non-public school supplemental report. It shows the resident and non-resident pupils attending non-public schools in the district. Again, all enrollment counts are as of BEDS Day. And finally, the report that shows the count of resident students enrolled in non-public schools. So the process for revising enrollment counts, if it's a district-reported enrollment, that's an issue. The district should submit revised records to the level 1 of the SERS. In order to revise charter school reported enrollment or district of residence, the district should contact the charter school directly, and then the charter school needs to submit revised records to SERS. If the issue is with the non-public school reported enrollment or district of residence, the district should contact the non-public school, and then the non-public school needs to contact this office, IRS, for instructions on how to proceed to revise their data in the BEDS Online application.
Ellen?
Yes.
I have a question. Is there a sound capability to see the underlying student names for these non-public schools?
No, because we don't collect data from non-public schools by individual student. It's only an aggregate.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so the next slide shows us how to use some of these reports to troubleshoot possible reporting errors. So the slide we're looking at now is the 3-year enrollment summary report, and we have 2 years of data highlighted. You can see we're looking at the resident charter school enrollment, and we can see there's about 200 fewer students reported in fall 2014. This could indicate a reporting issue, and we can take a look then at the supplemental enrollment report, the charter school supplement to the 3-year enrollment summary that shows the district of residence of students. We can see the data reported by individual charter schools. And in this case, the district would notice that there's a school missing from their list, that the KIPP Tech Valley Charter School is missing. They did not report any resident enrollment for this district in SERS. So in this particular case, we would encourage the district to reach out to the charter school in order to revise their data for the district of residence. Another example of troubleshooting using the report, again, this is the State Aid 3-year enrollment summary report, and we have highlighted resident students enrolled in public schools in other districts. The count is 3, and if the district wanted to confirm that this count is correct, they can view their L2 RPT report, their 312 report, which is the bed stay enrollment for state aid. And if they look at the column for resident students enrolled full-time in other public school districts, they'll see where that count came from, that count of 3 on their state aid enrollment 3-year report. And what they can do is drill through to the detail report here, which will actually show them the individual student data. They will be able to see the names of the students and the IDs of the students in order to confirm that that count is correct. Lastly, we have some important dates for reporting beds data to state aid. In January, the snapshot 1 is taken from SERS, and that snapshot includes the district grade-by-grade enrollment, the pre-K and UPK counts, as well as the supplemental district enrollment, which includes resident students enrolled outside the district with tuition paid by the home district, non-residents included in the grade-by-grade enrollment, the interdistrict urban-suburban transfer students, incarcerated youth, students who are instructed in home and hospital settings, and the charter district of attendance and district of residence enrollment by grade. Then at the end of February, we locked down the Beds Online application for non-public school enrollment. In March, we take the second snapshot of enrollment data for state aid, and that includes the same enrollment counts as snapshot 1. It also includes the non-public enrollment by district of attendance and residence, and we also include the counts of free and reduced price lunch eligible students in that snapshot number 2 in March. Finally, in August, at the end of the year, we lock down the SERS and we take the final end of year snapshot. The final enrollment and free and reduced price lunch counts are sent to state aid, and at that time districts verify and certify their data, and no more changes to the 14-15 school year data are allowed once the warehouse closes. So that concludes our presentation. We provided lots of information for you, and are there any additional questions?
We have one question. I will. Okay. Lisa, wait, I'm going to unmute you so you can ask your question.
Yes, when can staff data be updated in SEDDAS?
You're talking about staff data?
Yes.
Okay, staff data is not any of the data that we're discussing. We were discussing enrollment for state aid. The staff data, okay, I wanted to finish my thought. The staff data is reported in SERS. Some of the staff data is reported in SERS, and those records can be updated. They can be entered and revised at any time.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jacqueline, any other questions?
Do we have any others? I had one. It looks like she has left. Do we have any other questions? If you do, just raise your hand. We'll give it another minute. Oh, Lisa has another question. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes, I'm just wondering if copies of the presentation today will be available for attendees to print.
Yes, we emailed them out during this morning, and then during the presentation we sent a reminder. It'll come from Matthew Darius.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank Ellen and Bruce for this wonderful collaboration and bringing alive the systems that lie underneath this data and tools for school districts to examine their data and make sure that it's correct. I also want to point out that we are working on 2 additional webinars for this series, one with OGS and the other with the Office of the State Comptroller. and we'll be putting out details on those as they become available. We are engaged in our spring accounting workshops, and those will continue through April 2015. ASBO is holding an insurance symposium addressing all different kinds of insurance on March 17th at ASBO headquarters in Albany. And we have our Education Summit and Exposition June 7th to 10th in Saratoga. And finally, for this school year, we are doing our financial management, auditing, and accounting workshops around the state towards the end of June. So encourage you to watch for those and sign up as they meet your professional development needs. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.